Hey guys, welcome back to Andy's Dinosaur Reviews, and today we have something very different, very unique, and honestly, something I'm actually kind of excited about because as you can see, we've got ourselves a brand new shark, but it is not just any shark. This is a three-headed Megalodon. What kind of crazy world do we live in where they're making three-headed Megalodon figures? I feel like it just reminds me so much of those Asylum movies where they have like two-headed shark attack, three-headed shark attack, I think all the way up to like five-headed shark attack. It's crazy that there's actually a figure of this, and super, super cool. This is actually made by Jie Zhi Toys, and just like per usual, they have the little areas to kind of attach like a rubber band or something to attach to the figure. They never do that. They just kind of send it like this, and that's pretty much it. Just a random little tag that they have included, and it just opened up there. But again, pretty cool to see more figures coming from them, especially something so crazy and so unique and actually really nicely painted, which I'm also impressed with. The paintwork on this is really smooth, and they actually did a very good job when it comes to applying a little bit of variation of color to it. So I'm going to go ahead and readjust the camera, and we'll bring it in for a closer look. So starting up at the head sculpts, because we've got numerous, you can see again it looks pretty decent. There is some fairly decent detail throughout the course of the figure, and one thing that is really cool, which you can see, it actually has an articulated jaw, which is definitely nice. The articulated jaw, though, kind of reminds me of the way that PNSO had their Megalodon, and it kind of makes me think maybe this is some kind of a weird bootleg of the PNSO Megalodon. I could be wrong, but I'm not positive enough to say that it's definitely, not. So there is that potential that this could have been some sort of a bootleg from the PNSO version. But you can see we have like greenish tones for the primary color of the figure. There's also a nice glossy black eye right there. We have some reds as you get closer to the mouth. You can see the teeth on the inside of the mouth are very sloppily painted, but they look okay as far as the actual sculpt goes. And you can see some decent detail sort of on the inside of the mouth. It's hard to really get in there because it's a kind of a small mouth. The figure itself isn't all that huge, so it's a little bit hard to really get in there. But the mouth looks okay. The jaw is a little bit loose, but as you can see, it does close and stay closed, but it can pop open pretty easily. Weirdly enough, though, when you move to the figure in the center, or the head in the center, there is no articulated jaw. I don't know why we only have articulated jaws on the outside too, and not on the inside figure, but that seems to be the case. But you can see they did still show off the teeth right there. They painted them a little bit, kind of sloppily, but they are painted. Another area of reddish coloration there around the mouth, and then again the same eye with a nice black glossy eye. Very nice, very smooth transition up from the lighter tone of the underside to the green of the upper side, and the green continues to darken as you move up higher into the figure. And then we again have the other side here with another head attached, of course, to our Megalodon, and you can see this version does again have the articulated jaw, which is actually a little bit tighter over here compared to what we saw on the first side. But again, the teeth are equally as sloppily painted over here. I feel like, maybe a repaint of the mouth of this figure wouldn't be such a bad idea, because you could probably do a way better job painting the teeth yourself than what the factory did with this one. But again, same sort of detail and everything on the inside of the mouth, same reddish tone of color, and the articulated jaw works pretty decently. We can see the nostrils as well as, of course, the nice glossy black eyes. As you move back further, there is a very obvious seam, at least as far as the two outer heads, where you can see the head was connected, because over here you have that same sort of seam, which you can see right there. But when you actually come up above, like, first of all, the detail on the figure looks really, really impressive, but also the paintwork is really impressive, because they actually did apply quite a bit as far as like different variations of lighter and darker shades of greens, and you honestly can't even truly appreciate it until you take a nice closer look at it in a good light, and you can really see how great of a job they did. Honestly, for a company like this that I don't know that much about, I'm impressed that the paintwork of this figure looks as good as it does outside of the mouth area. But when it comes to the different variations of greens, it actually looks really, really good, really quite high quality in that area. As you move back, you do have the gills right here, of course, for the shark. You lead down, you've got the fins down here on the side. Again, you start out with a darker green, transition to a lighter green as you lead out, and the detail in that area also looks pretty decent. As you move up, you do also have the dorsal fin, and you can even see a lighter green in the dorsal fin, as well as like a really dark tone that kind of outlines the outer edges of the dorsal fin. And again, the detail continues to look really, really nice as you move throughout the top of the figure. As you lead back, again, the entire figure and just the way it looks does very heavily remind me of the PNSO Megalodon. But again, I'm not absolutely saying that that's exactly what this is because I don't know for sure, but we will grab that figure to compare with this one. I can tell you that the other one is definitely a little bit larger as far as the head and everything goes, but the figure does have a really strong turn to the body. You can see like the entire second half curving very, very sharply as you move down. Again, pretty smooth transition to the coloration here on the underside of our three-headed Megalodon. We can also see some pinkish tones that have been applied to the underside of the figure down here. And as you lead back, again, the detail still looks really, really well done. A little more pink right here on the underside back there by the fins again. But the sculpt and paint really does look very impressive for this figure. And as you lead back, you just continue to have the variations of greens and stuff throughout, which again look really nice. The curve as well gives this quite the dynamic pose, quite the dynamic visual for a shark as you lead back around. Again, same type of detail, same type of really nice looking paintwork. Again, not everybody's probably going to love the green colors of this, but I think it looks awesome. And the way that they've, again, just applied so many slight variations. It's not even like there's a ton of variations, but there's a good bit where it kind of transitions back and forth between lighter and darker greens. It just looks very lifelike to me. So I'm very impressed when it comes to the paintwork of this figure overall, but it is unfortunate again that the middle head does not have an articulated jaw. I really wish it did, because it probably would have been fun to be able to kind of open all three of the mouths at the same time, but instead we only get two. Again though, very unique figure, no doubt about that. As far as a size goes, for a length, you are looking at from the middle head to the tail about 6 1/4 inches, or right around the 16 centimeter mark, and the highest point would be to the top of the dorsal fin. It's a little bit under 2 1/4 inches, or around probably like 5.5 centimeters roughly for a size comparison. There is Mr. Papo T-Rex, the Attack Pack Colovosaurus, Robert Muldoon, and the Collect Day Human Being next to our Jie Zhi Toys three-headed Megalodon. And you can see, again, it's not huge, so that is one plus for the figure. It's not gigantic and does have a pretty convenient size where if you want some sort of a sideshow shark in your collection, it's not a half bad way to go with because it's not going to take up a massive amount of room. Then here is the PNSO Megalodon in question as far as potentially being a bootleg of the PNSO version. Again, I'm really curious. Like, it does have kind of a similar turn to the tail, but, you know, and of course the same style of articulated jaw, which is very obvious. But like when we look at the underside, you know, the detail doesn't look super similar. Obviously way more detailed on the PNSO figure. And maybe they just, you know, took the same inspiration as far as the way they articulated the jaw. Look at the head sculpts together. Let's go ahead and close the mouth of one, and then we'll look at the two kind of next to each other here. So looking at them, you can definitely see kind of similarities, but also significant differences, actually. Like, even the way that the snout is shaped and pointed looks very different on the Jie Zhi Toys version. So I don't know, maybe it's not a bootleg. Even the dorsal fin kind of looks different. And then, of course, the tails are curving in the opposite direction. But the one thing that was kind of making me think maybe it was related to the PNSO version outside of the articulation of the jaw was also this kind of like line that moves along here. You do see that same thing here for the PNSO version. But it is, again, a little bit different. It's actually significantly longer here on the three-headed Jie Zhi Toys version. Even the tail fins actually are really quite different. Even the way that they end is quite different. So I don't know. I mean, it kind of looks similar, and it might be derived from the PNSO version, but I really can't say for sure just looking at the two. But if you happen to have the PNSO version of the Megalodon, you can see, again, that these are kind of similar in size with just a lot more mass in the head of the PNSO release. And I don't think we really need a ton of comparisons here, especially because I can't see people actually wanting this to fit into their collection, you know, scale-wise with other figures. But just in case you are interested in another comparison, here is the Papo Megalodon, which you can see is significantly larger. And honestly, most Megalodon that I would have in my collection past this point are probably going to be a good bit larger than what we have for the Jie Zhi Toys version, as that one is a bit on the smaller side. And just for the heck of it, one more comparison, we have a standard Mattel Velociraptor, which you can see is quite a bit larger than our Megalodon. Again, showing you how this figure is not really super small, but by no means is it large. So this Jie Zhi Toys 3-headed Megalodon figure is definitely quite unique and quite cool. And honestly, I've been a fan of what they're producing so far. It seems like every figure that they have in their line that I personally know of so far has been an original release, outside of course, the mammals and stuff that they share with Earth Story, which I kind of get the feeling that maybe this is the same company as Earth Story. I don't know for sure, but it kind of seems that way to me. But this one is, again, another figure that is questionable, but potentially an original release. Well, it's definitely an original release as far as a 3-headed shark goes, but like the overall sculpt, again, does seem kind of similar to the PNSO version, but I think it might be more of like a situation of maybe doing their homework, like copying their homework from PNSO and the way that they've created their Megalodon here. Obviously, some areas of the figure are vastly different than what you see on the PNSO version, like the fact that we have 3 heads, but the overall look and feel of this one is actually really cool. It's one of the coolest looking figures that I've seen for sure from Jie Zhi Toys, but definitely overall from companies like this, you know, the random companies that you see popping up on AliExpress. It's a very, very different type of figure, and I actually really like it because of that. And of course, the actual sculpt is really well done. It's extremely impressive, and the fine detail as well looks really good. The seams where the 2 outer heads are connected is definitely a little bit ugly, but it's not the end of the world, especially when you have seams for the articulated jaws anyway. I wish there was an articulated jaw on the middle head, but that's not the end of the world. The paintwork is also really nice on this. I like the greenish tones of color, and I like how smooth and naturally the paintwork is applied. It's very realistic, and they did a great job of, you know, switching the coloration up as you move through, again with lighter and darker shades of greens. Really, really nice paintwork for something like this. The paintwork of the mouths, though, super sloppy, absolutely terrible in that area, but the rest of the body I think looks really good. So if you are interested in this, I will include a link in the description to where I purchased mine on AliExpress. So check that link, grab it if you want it, and like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you in the next review. Thanks for watching.